Okay, guys, on to our next issue, making the Constitution. So there were lots of things that we just could not agree on, and we had to make some sort of compromise to get it ratified. So here we are. Issue number 3. How can we guarantee this new strong government will not abuse its power and infringe on the rights of the people? And this was really important because, as you know, we rebelled against the King George, in order to get our freedom, and our founding fathers were very concerned about being abused again by someone in power. If you want to, you could just call this Rights of People when you write down the title and the issue later on your organizer. So here we go. Once the new Constitution was finalized, it had to be voted on by the states. Article 7 of the Constitution stipulated that in order for it to pass, it needed the support of 9 of the 13 states. Some, like Delaware, Georgia, and New Jersey, overwhelmingly supported the Constitution and the new, stronger central government it created. Others, like Massachusetts, Virginia, and New York, were more unsure. Delegates from these states had strong suspicions that this new government would become too powerful. Rhode Island boycotted the convention altogether, citing that they're concerned that the Constitution took far too much power away from the states. So debates took place throughout this young nation, us, the United States, over whether the Constitution should become the new law of the land. So now we have to have our two sides, of course. So our first side were the Federalists. So we have side 1, and they are the Federalists. All right. So the Federalists supported the passage of the new Constitution. Led by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, Federalists believed a stronger central government was both necessary and prudent. Collectively, the three wrote 85 essays known as the Federalist Papers to support the passage of the new Constitution. George Washington, as the leader of the convention, agreed that a stronger government was necessary as the current structure under the Articles left the country handcuffed in a variety of matters. In an 1785 letter to James Madison, Washington wrote this: "To me, it is a socialism mistake. Indeed, it is one of the most extraordinary things in nature that we should confederate, which means get together as a nation, and yet be afraid to give the rulers of that nation, who are the creatures of our making, appointed for a limited and short duration, and who are amendable for every action and recallable at any moment, sufficient powers to order and direct the affairs of the same." What he means is, if we're electing representatives but not giving them any power, that makes no sense. We elected them, we're trying to get them to run our government, and we can get rid of them if we need to, so we need to give them a little bit of power. So here's our first side. We have the Federalists, all right? So they wanted to ratify, meaning let's vote for the Constitution. As is, meaning don't change anything, leave it alone, we like it, leave the Constitution how it is, we'll do it. They actually wrote papers to support, saying, let's do this, we like it a lot, we want to keep the Constitution just how it is. And I'd like you to include the main leaders for each of these. So our main leaders on this side, I'll put it over here, are Hamilton, Madison, and Jay. Now, there's going to be another disagreement in a minute I'll write down, but for now, we know that's side 1. Well, we, of course, have to have a side 2. So side number 2 is the exact opposite, and those are the anti-federalists. So the anti-federalists believed that the Constitution was just too powerful and that it took away too much power from the states, and it created a government that could easily become tyrannical, meaning you would have a tyrant in charge. So Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, and George Mason argued the Constitution needed a list of guaranteed protections that ensured the rights of the people could not be taken away by an oppressive government. So they're saying make a list and sign this list and say you can't change what's on this list. Okay? Adding this would ensure that the government had clear boundaries on what it could and, more importantly, what it could not do. So we have our other side, and the biggest thing that they want is they want a list of guaranteed freedoms, which we are going to end up with, and you'll recognize it in just a minute. But they say to us, you need to make sure that the government can't take away these freedoms from us. This happened before. Don't do it. All right, so here's what they believed. They thought that a strong government could then take away people's freedoms. And they keep thinking about King George, because King George definitely did that. Citizens' freedoms. And they're saying, don't take away our freedom. Make sure we keep it how it is. And so they said, make sure you give us a list. Make sure that you can tell us what cannot be taken away. Within this list, the biggest part of what they wanted included was what could never be taken away. So make a list of rights that cannot be taken away. And so then we come over here, and our big leaders for the anti-federalists, the one who said, be careful, we don't want to have the federal government with too much power, are Jefferson, Henry, and Mason. M-A-S-O-N. Okay, so now we've got to come up with some sort of a compromise. And as I said, we're going to hear a little more about the Federalists right here. So I'll add it up to the top. Federalists believe that such a list was unnecessary. So over here, when we come back up to the top, we're going to say that there was no list of rights necessary. So this one, the writing's not in the same order. Make sure that you add that in, because that's the biggest difference. All right, so now let's get to our compromise. So they believe that no list was actually necessary. Why create a list of things that the government cannot do when the Constitution gives government no power to do that in the first place? And others were worried that by creating a Bill of Rights the people had, some rights could be left out. So they're like, hey, if we start listing rights, when do we stop? However, in the end, it was clear that the Anti-Federalists would not support the Constitution unless a Bill of Rights was added. So 10 amendments to the Constitution were approved in 1789, and the Constitution, now with the support of the Anti-Federalists, was ratified by the United States. So when you write about the compromise down here, here's what you need to call it. It's so important you know this compromise. We protect these rights all the time. It's called the Bill of Rights. That's our list. It's our list of rights, saying this is what's going to keep you safe, keep the government from taking them away. And so the Bill of Rights, and what this is the first 10, let me put first, 10 amendments. An amendment is when you change something. So the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And it's the ones that are giving us our basic rights. They're the ones that are saying, Constitution, I misspelled it right here. I think maybe I did it before. Constitution, there we go. This is what I get for writing too fast. And it says you just can't take those rights away. So it's the first 10 amendments, and it protects our rights. And when we get into our amendments, and particularly the Bill of Rights, I'll expect you guys to create a little bit of a PowerPoint with this, and what are our rights, how are they protected, that type of a thing. So when you do your compromise, we know that it's the first 10 amendments, and the end is the Bill of Rights, and it protects our rights. One other thing I want you to remember is that the Anti-Federalists were not going to ratify the Constitution without this. So they said, you know what? Unless you give us a Bill of Rights, forget this Constitution, you're out of luck. All right, hopefully this will help you.